What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. Sorry for the lack of uploads and posting this week. There's been a lot going on, not necessarily in my life, and then there's been like a lack of things going on in the music community that I wanted to cover on this channel. I have some bigger things planned for other videos that I am working on in the future for this channel, but as of right now, in the meantime, some of the smaller projects have been pushed to the side for the day-to-day stuff for ARTV, the main channel. Anyways, let's do another thinking out loud type video since you guys enjoyed the last one so much that I did about rap and hip-hop. Today, I'm going to be doing part 2, which is where I talk about rock, and more specifically, some comments that definitely intrigue me from The Killers. Now, you might know, Brandon Flowers of The Killers is a very charismatic and sometimes put your foot in your mouth type individual because he says a lot of things and then that doesn't always line up. Like at one point, he said that Sam's Town was going to be like an album that changed the 21st century and just one that would revitalize a genre of rock. And it didn't necessarily do that. It's a great record, but they tend to like speak out a little bit more than what they can actually do. And now here in 2017, The Killers have just put out their new album, Wonderful Wonderful. And while a very solid release leading up to that, they did some interesting interviews where obviously Brandon and Ronnie, the only two who are actually really actively playing in the band, are talking about rock music in its current state. In 2017, obviously, there's not a ton of rock acts that people are excited about beyond maybe a new Jack White solo project coming out sometime. Royal Blood, Nothing But Thieves, definitely gaining traction. There's great bands out there, but especially in the United States, nobody is really taking off, especially not on the charts other than a select few. Obviously, the person's shirt that I am wearing right now is one exception. Feel it still just recently crossed into the top 10 on the Hot 100. But I actually looked before recording this video. I checked the Hot 100. There's only really 2 alternative and rock songs on the entire Hot 100. And yes, they're both currently in the top 10, but still, that says something about the decaying state of rock music. And obviously, hip-hop being the most dominant genre now, Brandon Flowers has the opinion of people are not writing good enough songs. They're not making the songs that make people want to have rock as a genre. And I think that that's accurate in a way, but I also think it's the fault of the mentality of people in this generation. Very many people these days seem to be just kind of close-minded to other genres like rock. They exclusively will listen to things like hip-hop and rap and then trash other genres. I'm all for really anything being great. Whatever sounds good and can be somewhat clever, catchy, well-produced, well-put together and assembled, I can respect. But there's plenty of crap in both rock, country, hip-hop, whatever the genre might be. There's a lot of crap to sift through. And I think that The Killers aren't necessarily helping their case by putting out a, yes, solid album, but one that wasn't necessarily guitar-driven as much as some of their past stuff. There could have been plenty more electric guitars that I would have welcomed here. There was plenty of synthesizers and that sort of thing. Kind of a glossy feel overall, and not that I'm complaining about the album, it's just that they seem, I'm not going to call them hypocrites by any means because it's The Killers. I don't want to sit here and analyze every single word that they're saying. I don't think that they're necessarily dismissing all of EDM or hip-hop or whatever it might be. But they talk about the lack of guitar-driven bands whenever they're not exactly leading the torch with the flame of guitars themselves. While they definitely have guitar moments, they're more of like an intricate and backing thing that are used. They're not just blaring just in your face on many of these tracks. And The Killers actually kind of got their start by playing around with synthesizers, especially on tracks like Smile Like You Mean It and their huge hits, Somebody Told Me, even Mr. Brightside. That's definitely a guitar jam, but there's synthesizers and keyboards in there that make a big fuss as well. So overall, I feel like The Killers are one of those leading bands in rock that could make an impact, but we need fresh meat in the genre. We need somebody to inject that steroid, essentially, to just grow and expand and actually make people take notice of and just make rock interesting again. And I feel like we're not getting people like that have the charisma or the rock star personality. And I think that that's a lot of the reason why people are drawn to rappers, because they have such bold views and just bold statements with, I think, their music video and I guess their lifestyle that people seem to be very fascinated by. But I would also argue that it's kind of raising a generation of fuckboys, people that don't necessarily respect certain ideals and aspects of life and and get caught up in thinking that the ideal lifestyle is like trapping in a drug house somewhere. I don't agree with that sentiment whatsoever, but I don't think that necessarily rock is doing that great of a job at being like, hey, we're the better alternative. And as being somebody that prefers alternative and rock music, I have to say that I agree for the most part with what the Killers are saying here, in the sense that nobody is really doing something that makes everybody pay attention. We don't have a Post Malone. We don't have an XXX, as much as I might not like X, especially in terms of his personal life. But people are drawn to what they're doing. And rock, while we might have some of the tunes, we don't have the presentation, and we don't have the mainstream support behind it, because people have fallen into a different mentality that rock just doesn't agree with. It's much more of an emotional response, I feel like, whenever you listen to that. And I feel like people these days are more into hyping themselves up and looking to embrace their own ideas of a lavish lifestyle or whatever it might be. It could be a little bit of everything. You know, it could be. It really could be many things as to why rock isn't exactly just succeeding right now. But I would love to see somebody just storm the castle, essentially, kick down the doors and say, we are here. And whether it be an infusion of genres or just straight up rock or loud guitars mixed with synthesizers and kind of a dance rock type thing, I would love to see somebody like New Order or LCD Sound System or somebody else, just like I said, kind of kick down the castle door that's being held back by hip hop right now. And I would like to see more diversity in the charts, because we've always talked about diversity, but I feel like we really got it right between like 2002 to 2010, more specifically like 04 to 09. That's really where everything was charting. You had more of your guitar-driven pop songs. You had artists like Eminem, 50 Cent, and even Diddy still like getting hits and that sort of thing. Kanye West was coming into his own during that time frame, putting out some game changers of records, and I loved it. I wish so many times that I could just rewind the clock, at least musically, and be like, let's stay here for a little bit longer and enjoy this, because look where we are in 2017. We can barely get any rock songs anywhere. I mean, if you look at the charts in 05, you see everything from Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day to, 50 Cent's Candy Shop. Not that that's an amazing song, but just an example that pops into my head. Plenty of other stuff from like Mariah Carey, Lil Jon, and then Kelly Clarkson, and plenty of other pop artists that just crossed over, like everything from Justin Timberlake, One Republic during this time frame, The Fray, and there was a lot of great stuff to choose between. It wasn't just like the mainstream was dominated by one thing. We got everything from country to rap to rock, and it wasn't all dog shit. And not that everything is now, but still, I look at most of the stuff on the Hot 100 right now, and I'm just disappointed. I mean, look at our number one song right now, Cardi B. Oh God, Bodak Yellow is, in my opinion, just an awful, awful song that just borrows from other rappers like Nicki Minaj, who I already am not really a fan of, and it just, once again, pushes this idea of something that I don't agree with. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Main focus here is the fact that even though I might not like that, I can't necessarily argue the fact that rock is doing something so much more interesting as a whole. There's plenty of underground bands, and there's plenty of smaller bands, but there's not ones that are gaining the traction necessary to actually start a change, and the old ones that are holding the torch aren't necessarily passing it off, and not like they necessarily have somebody that interesting to pass it off to. Like bands like the Foo Fighters, yes, they're debuting high, so are the Killers, but still, they can't carry that torch forever, and eventually people and their fan bases are going to get older and older, and I don't know, I'm kind of scared to see where music's at in like 2030, for example. Let me know what you guys think in the rock versus rap divide in the comment section down below. I think that rock obviously needs some sort of kick in the teeth, something to wake it up and be like, hey, people are just going to forget about you eventually, and you're always going to be a niche genre from now on if you don't do something about it. And there's plenty of like indie and alternative and even alternative country artists out there doing really cool things. and I wish that they would get more of the exposure that they deserve. I always try to shout them out, whether it be like a year-end video or an end of the month roundup, whatever it might be. If I see somebody that I really, really like, I'm always going to shout them out. And shouts out, by the way, to that new Always record, female-fronted band that I'm really, really enjoying their new album. Definitely check that out if you haven't heard it already. I heard that. They're a smaller band, and I'm really excited about projects like that because they do give me hope, and I wish that they would gain more traction. Anyways, guys, all just my take on things. Sorry for rambling. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. If you're able to support me on Patreon, that would be awesome. It would help videos like this keep coming on this channel and my main channel, ARTV, as well. It's the top link in the description down below, or else that annotation over in the corner of the screen. You can see another recent video right here, or my Killers album review right over here. Other than that, socials are in the description, and I'll see you very soon on Beyond ARTV.